Now, when it comes to Drake, sorry, wrong channel. Lawbries and Gentlegrams, in today's episode of Lawbry and Gentleland, the mood is murky for the Marilyn Monroe v. Ho. The Canadian Katy Perry petition Padre Courthouse Karen is crashing out in court, requesting crazy contracts and documents from the Compton Kung Fu Killers record label, and Aubrey's astoundingly obese admirer, Akademiks, actually got his account leaked. So we'll be reviewing messages from the Maple Syrup Mob boss way back in May when Not Like Us first dropped. And boy, is this ballistic for the balding bearded BBL buffoon. The Gaveling Graham was gossiping about LeBron, and of course the little lyrical lethal assassin Kung Fu Kenny. He was talking about Patrick Mahomes, the weird girl from that stream from a few months ago. He even addressed all the items on the Meet the Grams album artwork. So of course we're going to touch on that. We'll review all of the alleged leaked DMs, and of course we got to speak on new updates in Drake's lawsuit against UMG, because the cantankerous crybaby catty Canadian Courthouse Karen has officially stooped to new lows, requesting some absolutely insane documents from Kendrick's record label, completely invading his privacy and requesting things that should be damn near illegal. But before we get into it, let's get intimate. Give a little love tap to the like and subscribe button if you appreciate my penmanship. Now, Lawbries and Gentlegrams, this is crazy, alright? Let's start with these leaked DM messages. So, if you guys are on Twitter, you probably know the account Akademiks TV. This is not actually DJ Akademiks running this account, but instead it's one of his little minions who has his own Instagram account by the name of Grand Wizard Chat N-word. I don't know how Akademiks knows this guy, but I guess at this point he employed him to run this Akademiks TV Twitter account, which is essentially a Drake propaganda machine. They have been pushing absolutely vile content in defense of Drake. I believe that's the account that called Kendrick's music slave music. They've insulted women, children, horses, dogs, cats, rabbits. Basically anyone who is not aligned with Akademiks or Drake has gotten fake news spread about them on that Akademiks TV account. And again, that account is ran by one of Akademiks' minions who goes by the name on Instagram, Grand Wizard Chat Guy. Akademiks has said before that that guy is a diehard Drake fan. Drake obviously follows his account on Instagram. And now we come to find out that he's been in communications with this guy. Allegedly. So the guy's Instagram got hacked. He even admitted on Twitter that his Instagram was hacked. And essentially whoever hacked his account leaked all of this guy's messages dating back to 2022 with Drake, Akademiks, and Adin Ross. Because again, don't forget, this guy is basically Akademiks' friend, or maybe started off as a fan and now works for Akademiks. So he's connected to Akademiks' whole sphere, which obviously includes Drake. That's probably why you see an immense amount of Drake glazing from that Akademiks TV account. Obviously, he's also connected with Adin Ross. Akademiks was just hosting a boxing event with Adin Ross. And the guy goes back and forth with Akademiks a bunch on Instagram as well. So we're going to review all the messages between this guy and Drake, and this guy and Akademiks. There's some interesting stuff in here, and then we'll go through the new updates to Drake's lawsuit and how the Courthouse Karen has just reached new lows. So let's start with these leaked DMs. So it was a whole screen recording video. Maybe I'll throw that in there. But let's start by reviewing the messages one by one in order that it goes through the screen recording. So it starts way back in August of last year, 2024. Back then, I don't know if you guys remember, there was this controversy between Drake and this streamer. Now, I didn't report on this because I like to keep it music adjacent, anything I talk about here. Once we start going down the PDF rabbit holes, it's a little too disturbing for my liking. But essentially, Drake was sending this girl streaming equipment. He hopped on streams with her. She's from Canada, so he was, I guess, giving her a cosign. We've seen him try to enter into the streaming world doing streams with Adin Ross and XQC. He's obviously trying to, really integrate himself into that world, infiltrate it, if you will. So he cosigns this girl, hops on stream with her, sends her equipment, bigs her up, gives her the opportunity to stream to a larger platform and with better equipment. Then we come to find out this girl essentially ran streams where she would get on these anonymous chat rooms, I believe is what you'd call them. Basically like a website where, you hop on a webcam and someone else is on the other end of that webcam. You don't know who that person is. You just kind of talk to them. And she was essentially asking people on the other side of that webcam who she did not know to expose their private parts, I guess. You guys can go dig into that situation on your own time. Very disturbing situation. We'll leave it at that. But Drake was caught up into it because obviously he co-signed her. So the Grand Wizard Chat Guy, Akademiks, is, little, I don't know if it's fitting considering he's associated with Akademiks to call him little, but his big associate sent Drake a screenshot of the headline that he was, caught being weird again with this weird streamer, And Drake replied saying, "This stuff is not gonna work. The girl is weird, not me." And the guy who hacked this Instagram account and shared all these DMs, he wrote, "In a little while, I will share all the deals with Drake and all the conversations where he talked behind the backs of celebrities and insulted them. Follow the story." And you could see Akademiks' little minion was just sending him a bunch of news as the beef progressed. So then you get this part in July when Kendrick was gearing up to drop the Not Like Us music video. Once it finally dropped, he sent screenshots and said they dropped it. And Drake said, "Yeah, I watched it." Then he scrolled up because if you guys don't remember, before the video actually came out, we got different images from the music video. So that's how we kind of knew that it was dropping. So Drake said, "So someone really leaked it, or someone from their end." And then he scrolls up a bit where you could see that they're talking more about the Not Like Us music video dropping soon. Drake said, "That's today." And then Akademiks' minion said, "Coming soon. The guy's milking it." And then Drake said, "Where did they post that?" And Akademiks' minion said, "Whoever leaked the information about, I guess, Not Like Us music video dropping is now gone. Like the account was deleted." And the whole time, whoever hacked this Instagram account said, Drake pays to have the X accounts of those making negative comments about him deactivated. And you could see that this Twitter account, LOL, was deactivated. But at least he got a good laugh out of the still of Kendrick and his fiancée Whitney and their 2 kids from the Not Like Us music video. He reacted to it with a laughing emoji. Then on July 1st, they were discussing how when Rick Ross pulled up to Canada to do a show and he played Not Like Us, him and his entourage ended up getting into a fight in the crowd with one of the concert goers who is believed to be a Hells Angels member. So Rick Ross's DJ is named Sam Sneak, and they're talking about the situation, and Drake basically just says, "Sam Sneak got effing washed." Then the Big Akademiks minion sent Drake a screenshot of Future and Metro Boomin's upcoming show that was supposed to be in Toronto, and he said they gotta kiss the ring. He also said they gave Rick Ross a champagne moment he'll never forget, and Drake just liked the comment. Essentially, Champagne Moment was the name of the diss track that Rick Ross put out against Drake. This was kind of funny. There was rumors initially that Lebron was actually supposed to be in the Not Like Us music video because there was a leaked video of him dancing to the song in some random club. So the Big Mac minion sent those screenshots of LeBron in the club dancing to the song to Drake and said they filmed the music video with LeBron. And Drake said, "Guys out in the first round, nothing left to do but dance." That's a pretty funny comment. I don't keep up with ball, but I guess the Lakers were out pretty quick last season. It's alright though, the West was most definitely still up all summer. And it seems like the Big Mac minion was very busy all summer sending the defamation drizzler tons of random info related to Kendrick, including the date of Kendrick's fiance's birthday, which happens to land on Mother's Day. Drake at least is smart for not answering that. But where it also gets interesting is on May 11th, he sent Drake a couple tweets from the Twitter account Ebony Prince. Now, if you guys don't know who Ebony Prince is, neither do I. It's been a complete mystery for about a year now, but essentially, he was a guy on Twitter claiming to have leaked all of the items from the Meet the Grams album cover. You know, the Maybach gloves, the Hawaiian shirt that looks like something you'd see a man suffering a midlife crisis wearing in Ibiza for his 50th birthday, the pill bottles with prescriptions in the name of the certified certified lover boy, certified PDF. You remember basically Meet the Grams, there was a lot of strange items on that cover, and that was the same song where Kendrick talked about Drake having a daughter. Amongst many other things, of course, like having a gambling addiction, accusing him of S-trafficking, being an alcoholic. But the only one factual thing Drake could come out and deny was the daughter thing, so he adamantly denied it on his Instagram, and by the time he released his final diss track, The Heart Part 6, he rapped, "We plotted for a week and then we fed you the information." This was in reference to the fact that many people didn't understand where Kendrick got the daughter information, where he got, that t-shirt, where he got the Ozempic pills that were prescribed to Drake or his father, I forget who. There were all these secret items and secret, pieces of information that no one understood where they got it from. And Drake on The Heart Part 6 tried to paint it like he was the one who planted that information, which was fake information, for Kendrick to then use in his diss tracks and then look like a fool. All the items on the Meet the Grams album cover, the fake daughter information, all that stuff, Drake said he concocted that whole thing. He said, we plotted for a week and then we fed you the information. But on that same song, he said, the one you're getting your information from, they're all clowns. So which one is it? Are they all clowns or are you the one feeding the information? What he should have rapped was, we plotted for a week and then we fed you the litigation. You dissed me so bad I gotta sue you for defamation. But instead, he wanted to pretend like he was this master manipulator, convincing Kendrick into believing that all these items and that fake dollar thing was true, so he would look like a fool rapping it on Meet the Grams. But then this Ebony Prince account comes out with videos to prove that they were the one in possession of all the items on the Meet the Grams album cover. They posted them all over their Twitter account, and they didn't have the best things to say about Drake. So it was obvious that this Ebony Prince guy did not work for Drake, was not associated with Drake, likely did not like Drake. I could do a full video on the whole Ebony Prince situation. Drop a comment if you want that. But remember now, Drake tried to paint the narrative on The Heart Part 6 that he was the one who planted the information into Kendrick's lap. But the Henny Hog, the Big Akademiks minion, sent Drake a bunch of the tweets and videos that Ebony Prince posted, and Drake replied to it saying, still no idea what that stuff is. So basically, behind closed doors, he's admitting that he has no idea who this Ebony Prince guy is. The whole situation, he's not associated with it. He has no idea how they got these items. And while in public on his diss track, he's talking about plotting for a week and then feeding Kendrick this information, behind closed doors, he's admitting to Akademiks' minion that he has no idea where that information actually came from. Absolutely ridiculous, but let's keep going. But before we do, Lobbies and Gentlegrams, I gotta tell you guys about something that, unlike Drake, a bunch of you guys have been telling me you've been, Anita Max, winning some free cash from playing mobile games. So I want to put all you guys on to something that almost seems too good to be true, alright? Let me give you a little glimpse into my life. When I'm not making this content for you guys, I have a disgusting addiction to my phone. My daily screen time is higher than Drake on that album cover, higher than Snoop off the edibles. So if you guys suffer that same addiction as me, I want to put you onto something that's going to change your life. FreeCash.com is a program that partners with mobile games that are looking for more users to play their games, and they will literally pay you to play their games for free. All you got to do is sign up using the QR code you see on the screen or using the link in the description of this video. You make an account super easy. All you got to do is put in your email, create a password, verify your email, and then you're good to go. And they got a bunch of games. My favorite is the Monopoly Go because we're always on the go trying to make some money. Once you make an account, you just click the game you want to play, follow the directions that they give you. The directions are super easy. Usually you just got to download the game and start playing. So it's about time you put that phone addiction to good use. Again, use the QR code you see on the screen or the link in my description. Create an account and you could start making more than $150 just to play a game on your phone. Now, before we get into more of these leaked Lobby DMs, don't you guys find it interesting that all these Drake fans were going ballistic over Kendrick appearing on Carti's album, calling him a hypocrite since, you know, he called Drake a deadbeat, but now he's doing a song with someone who's being accused of being a deadbeat, spinning this whole thing to make it seem like Kendrick's been a hypocrite, even though he's let us know plenty of times before that he's been trying to rehabilitate the people around him, connect, you know, the old generation with the new generation. And this was just another act of passing the torch and uniting the culture. But no, he was a hypocrite because he criticized Drake's character in a rap battle. But what about Drake saying all this stuff in his diss tracks about, oh, a fake daughter, I bet he'll take that. Oh, he bit the bait. We plotted him the information. He lost because he rapped about this fake info that we sent him. He thought it was a leak in our camp, but really we were just leaking this fake info. Well, now his actual DMs have leaked, and it proves that he had no clue who this Ebony Prince guy was. He had no idea how those items fell into Kendrick Lamar's hand. All that we plotted for a week and fed you the information stuff was an absolute lie. So what about Drake being a hypocrite? What about Drake being a liar? There's no outrage for that? That's cool, that's fine, but now we get into more lies. And this one comes from Drake's actual lawsuit. So in that defamation case, there was a source that had said Kendrick Lamar botted streams for Not Like Us. Back in June, this anonymous guy went on Akademiks' stream and said he was paid from Kendrick's manager, Anthony Saleh, to put 30 million fake streams onto Not Like Us on its first day of release on Spotify. It then came out to be complete cap. He showed screenshots of this company that he got the wire transfer from, which was called Anthony Saleh LLC. That LLC does not exist. This was a fabricated lie that Drake actually used in his lawsuit to try and prove Kendrick botted the streams. UMG clapped back with a proposal to dismiss the entire case and said that Drake even admitted to them that he ended up realizing that this source was BS. And we're going to touch on that later when we get into what Drake is now requesting to move this lawsuit forward, because it's absolutely ridiculous. But in the meantime, some leaked DMs between Lobby and the Big Mac minion surfaced where they both react to that Akademiks stream where that whistleblower went on and said Kendrick Lamar was paying for fake streams for Not Like Us. So the Big Akademiks minion messaged Drake saying, "Tap into Akademiks stream. The guy who bought it, not like us, is whistleblowing." Drake replied saying, "That stuff is insane. I just landed." Then he said, "I wonder how they'll report on this, if they even do." Then Drake said, "They have to. It's insane. It's a gold medal on steroids." Big Akademiks minion replies, "The irony is that it gets exposed on his birthday." And Drake says, "Karma is a baddie." And this is how you know that it's actually Drake talking on this account, because only Drake would say something like karma is a baddie. Then they start getting on their Toronto language talk. The Big Akademiks minion says, "Battery ting." And Drake says, "It probably gets crazy. Body boys." Then Big Akademiks minion says, "Nah, wagwan for Bati man." And Drake says, "Body man is the new hashtag." Basically because they thought Kendrick was paying for bots, so they wanted to start calling him Body Man. On a side note, like, I live very close to Toronto. That Toronto accent is the worst thing in the world. There's a whole page on Instagram where they just depict, different Toronto residents talking in this exaggerated voice, and it literally sounds like a mosquito trapped in a jar. It's like, "Yo, tutu is my word, Kroski. You're an absolute Gerber, fam. Your thing had a battery run on her, fam. You're an absolute waste youth, Crotty." So when Kendrick did that Toronto accent on Euphoria, like, that was very accurate. If anything, he wasn't exaggerating it enough. So yeah, I guess behind closed doors, Drake was calling Kendrick Body Man, but he was too scared to say it to the public, so instead he resorted to suing. And these messages even go way back to 2023, right when Tory Lanez released his own disco album, and that came a couple years after The Weeknd had been on a run, releasing a bunch of disco music. So the Big Akademiks minion wrote to Drake saying, "Tory dropped a better 80s ting." And Drake said, "It's all blessed though, F it, we're rolling. It's a shame we can't just lift the city up together, but they can't let that ego die. But yeah, for sure, Don FM was a Christopher Dud does." So I guess Drake's issues with The Weeknd stemmed all the way back to 2023, because here he was obviously saying, like, it's a shame that we all can't get along and uplift the city, but, they're letting egos stand in the way of that. And then obviously we know now Drake dissed The Weeknd on Family Matters. The Weeknd dissed him on All To Myself with Future. The future of them being friends looks bleak. Then Drake starts talking about Jackson Mahomes and Patrick's Mahomes, saying, "I won't cap, Jackson Mahomes pressed me like he was NBA Ben 10 about my Patrick Mahomes bar. I never been pressed by a 6'5" gay guy. Like, I just really didn't have that reaction in my Rolodex. My life never prepared me for that." On a side note, I don't really keep up with football, basketball, none of that. So you guys let me know in the comments what he's referring to, what bar he's referring to here, what the situation is about, and I'll pin the best comment. Then the Big Akademiks minion seemingly sends a video of Patrick Mahomes, and Drake replies saying, "Ha ha ha, he really think he's NB gay young boy." The minion replies saying, "Bro, I'm sleep. I can't imagine him pressing you." And Drake says, "Like, he's so gangster about being gay. It's crazy." And then, of course, the hacker, revealed to Drake that he had just been hacked. And so he said, "Sorry, Drake, I need money. I recorded 15 to 20 more videos. I have to post all of them on gossip pages in my story." And then Drake obviously blocked him. But then a second video surfaced from 2022, which was kind of disturbing as well. November 4th, 2022, in the DMs, Drake says, "Grandy, we're lit tonight." He's calling him Grandy because the guy's account name is Grand Wizard Chat Guy. And that just sounds like Drake, The guy's name is Grand Wizard, so he calls him Grandy. Classic sassy, sexy red stunt double slang. But he continues with Grandy saying, "These shorties long-winded." And then Drake said, "Man, what?" I'm guessing it's some girls that Drake was around that, were just talking a little too much. So the guy says they're long-winded, like they're talking a lot. Then he says sound 42, as in like they belong on the radio because they're just talking a lot. Drake says, "Yeah, I know. Those girls are drunk AF, trying to be podcast poetic." And he says, "LMAO, I'm saying. I was just thinking to myself, like, who even really trying to deep what they're saying?" And then Drake says, "We edited out so much. The one girl was like, I was 14 and my man was 25. I was like, what? LOL." Big Akademiks minion says, "Nah," and Drake says, "I gotta get out of Miami." And on the Drake side of things, that seems to be it from the DMs. I'll keep you updated if more DMs end up leaking. His DMs with Akademiks and with Adin Ross also ended up leaking, but I'll spare you guys the details. There's not much that's really interesting from here, except for this one part where basically Akademiks had gone on stream the night before Carti's album was released, saying that Carti played it for him. He heard a bunch of features. He heard that Kendrick was basically curating the entire album. Carti's producer Filthy came out and said that that's not true, and Akademiks said, with all due respect, who the F is Filthy? And then this woman by the name of Yes Jules came out and said, "How do you call yourself a music journalist when you don't even know Carti's right-hand producer?" Akademiks obviously went off on her. We're not going to go into, his whole rant on that. But he was talking with his Big Mac minion in the DMs that were leaked, and I thought this was interesting. They were talking about how Akademiks wasn't a liar for saying that, Kendrick was curating this Carti album because that's what Carti had told him. And Akademiks said, "Carti literally told me Kendrick was curating the album, played me the Drake song, and said, I gotta see if K-Dot would want it on there. clear as effing day that Kendrick had some control. Basically emphasizing, like, I know Kendrick had a hand in curating this album because Carti and Drake had a collaboration, but Carti didn't even know if it'd be on the album because he'd have to clear it with Kendrick first. Just a whole lot of BS, but we got some even bigger BS to cover right now, Lawbries and Gentlegrams, because the lawsuit-loving lunatic is back at it with Lawbrie and his legal team requesting 18 different documents from UMG on behalf of Kendrick Lamar. And listen, I'm not no legal expert, but this is absolutely absurd to me. I don't see how it would be legal to obtain these documents without some real proof that some bodying and payola was going on. And some of these, I don't even see how they'd be relevant to Drake's case. So the first thing Drake is requesting is all contracts and agreements between UMG and Kendrick Lamar, his agents, or anyone working on his behalf, including all contracts and agreements reflecting UMG's right to approve, reject, refuse to publish, edit, amend, alter, or veto the publication of Kendrick Lamar's musical works, music videos, and other content. Basically, Drake wants access to all of Kendrick's contracts with UMG. And this is absurd, right? Because there's a reason that these things are kept confidential. These are private legal agreements. This isn't like, show me the marketing rollout you did for Not Like Us. He's asking to literally see every element of the business dynamics of Kendrick Lamar, right? And this obviously will lead to bad business when Drake is in the middle of renegotiating his contract with UMG, exposing what the other biggest artists in the game contracts look like. It gives Drake obviously an unfair advantage against Kendrick because he now has more negotiating power with UMG. And yes, obviously that's a W for Drake if he found out that information, but violates the privacy of the other artists, in this case Kendrick Lamar, and then sets a precedent that any artist can get their confidential contracts opened up in a public case. It'd be like if I went to your job and demanded that your boss gave me your contract. Why would that be fair? It's just an invasion of your privacy. And in this case, it exposes another lie on Drake's behalf within his diss tracks, because on Push-Ups, he was talking about, Top Dogg taking 50% of Kendrick's profits, dropping Gimme 50, Kendrick getting ripped off from his record label. Obviously, Drake had no idea what the actual splits were of Kendrick's contract, because now he's demanding to see it in a court of law. Drake's also looking to get all documents and communications relating to UMG's approval or consent to publish Not Like Us's recording, image, and video. They're looking for all communications involving Ramin Alvarez Michael relating to the recording, image, or video, or the promotion of any musical works by Kendrick Lamar. Ramon, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that name, is the head of marketing at Interscope Records. So basically he wants to see, all the back and forth that UMG had with Kendrick's marketing team for the promotion of any music that came out of Kendrick Lamar's camp, not just Not Like Us. It's funny, right? Because we know there's been some, funny business, to say the least, between UMG and Drake in promotion of Drake's music as well, right? Spotify literally had to refund some of their users because they plastered so many different Drake songs on irrelevant playlists, like jazz playlists, gospel playlists, when Scorpion just came out. So it's like, it just opens the door for UMG to Uno reverse him, just like they did in their motion to dismiss that we covered the other day, because in that document they said, say Drake, you're mad that we published Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us, but what about all the defamatory statements you made in Family Matters that we also published? This is all hypocritical. And now they're likely going to do the same thing where they say, okay, you want to see all of Kendrick Lamar's marketing interactions, all communications to promote his music? What about all the communications to promote and publish your music? When you were dissing and defaming Kendrick Lamar, when you were dissing and defaming Kanye West on songs like Sicko Mode or the first half of your Scorpion album? Or what about Back to Back, your diss against Meek Mill? Or what about On More Life, when you were dissing Pusha T, Kid Cudi, calling him the man on the moon, now just going through his phases saying he was mentally ill? Or Tory Lanez, when you said he's just a one-day star and that his next album won't see the light of day. Now he's literally in prison, still releasing albums through a jail phone. What about when you were dissing and defaming Megan Thee Stallion, saying that she lied about Tory Lanez? What about when you were dissing Rihanna and A$AP Rocky? I mean, UMG literally said this in their request to dismiss this frivolous lawsuit, in that, Drake had no problem when he used UMG's resources to publish and market his own diss tracks, defaming other artists. But now that the tables have turned, the roles have reversed, and it's Drake who is at the receiving end of a diss track that just happened to be the biggest diss track probably of all time. Now he has a problem with it and wants to see every single contract, every single communication between Kendrick's marketing team. It's ridiculous. But anyways, let's keep going on. He's also requesting all documents and communications relating to the payment and reimbursements of discretionary marketing funds for the benefit of Kendrick Lamar or any person working on his behalf, including but not limited to Anthony Soleil. So Anthony Soleil, like I mentioned before, was the one who was accused of paying for bots for Not Like Us. So Drake here is basically requesting any sort of document that relates to the payment or the reimbursement, so getting money back for services that never went through for marketing activities related to Kendrick Lamar's music. He wants to see every little ounce of any business Kendrick Lamar has ever done, essentially. And he continues, he wants all documents and communications relating to any allegations, concerns, complaints, or reports, whether formal or informal, oral or written, made to UMG relating to payola violations regarding any musical works by Kendrick Lamar. So basically, any payola, any bots that UMG had heard of that Kendrick Lamar might have been using, Drake wants access to that. But then again, UMG told him, your issue lies with Kendrick and his team. It doesn't lie with us. And this goes back to it too, right? Like if they did so happen to find that Kendrick's team was using bots for Not Like Us, that wouldn't be an issue that Drake has with UMG. That would be an issue that Drake has with Kendrick Lamar. Because even if UMG knew about it, it was Kendrick or his team committing that violation or that crime. I don't know if you'd consider that a crime, but whatever it is, the tables would be turned onto Kendrick. And obviously Drake just doesn't want to sue Kendrick because it then would look like he's snitching on a rap battle, right? He doesn't want this lawsuit to completely tear down his reputation, so he's trying to frame it as he's going up against the massive corporation that's been manipulating the streams and making it harder for the smaller artists to get on because, you know, they suppress the smaller artists by giving these massive budgets for bots and payola to these bigger artists, so they're always number one on the charts. It makes it harder for the smaller artists to rise. But again, Drake has used the system forever, and UMG has said, if Kendrick Lamar was botting his music, it was a problem between him and his team. It had nothing to do with UMG. He would then have to either drop the lawsuit or turn it on to Kendrick. If he did, he would officially become the first rapper to ever sue another rapper over a diss song. But we're not done yet. There's plenty of more documents. So he's also requesting all documents and communications relating to any actions or contemplated actions UMG undertook with respect to the copyright restrictions for the recording, image, or video, including but not limited to any alteration, modification, removal, suspension of the same. So this is in reference to the fact that Drake also included reaction channels in his lawsuit. If you guys don't remember, UMG or Kendrick's team, for the first, I believe, week of Not Like Us's release, they removed all copyright restrictions off the song for reaction videos, which allowed reaction channels to react to the song and actually profit off of their reaction videos. This is usually unheard of, right? Like if I just played the full version of Not Like Us in this video, I wouldn't be allowed to monetize it. But for the first week of its release, reaction channels were allowed to monetize it, which was a really smart strategy and really innovative in terms of helping the reaction community, you know, push forward and actually be taken more seriously as a viable business. Because obviously it's very hard for a reactor to actually profit, right? To actually turn their reactions into a full-fledged business and pursue this as a career, because they can't actually profit off the music they're reacting to. The record labels take the profit. Drake was arguing that because they restricted the copywriting, the reactors were incentivized to now react positively to Not Like Us. He wasn't saying that, oh, they just liked the song, it was a good song, that's why they reacted positively. He was implying that because there was no copyrights, because they could react for free, that's what made them all react positively. I would say the act definitely incentivized more reactors to react to the song, but I don't think that would necessarily change their actual opinion of the song. It's a stupid, baseless argument, and he's basically requesting that any communications about, you know, restricting the copyright of the song so reaction channels can finally profit. Drake wants all those documents, all those communications, so he can look through them. Drake is also requesting documents sufficient to show UMG's internal policies, procedures, and guidelines related to the enforcement of copyright restrictions over the publication, playing, streaming, or sharing of musical works, music videos, or other content on third-party platforms. All documents and communications relating to the February 2nd, 2025 Grammy Awards relating to the recording, image, or video, including but not limited to all documents or communications with the National Academy of Recording Arts and Sciences Incorporated or any representative or agent thereof. All documents regarding the promotion or advertising of the recording, image, or video of Not Like Us for the purposes of obtaining a nomination for a Grammy Award, obtaining a win for a Grammy Award, or for promoting the February 2nd Grammy Awards, and all documents regarding the content of the archival footage available from the February 2nd, 2025 Grammy Awards, including but not limited to, as referenced in, and then he references this article from Hot New Hip Hop. All his sources are just a bunch of gossip sites or Twitter pages, which is hilarious, but essentially what he's asking for here is when Kendrick won 5 Grammys, he'd go up to make an acceptance speech, right? So as he was going up to accept the Grammy Award, they were playing Not Like Us. And if you guys remember, about a month ago when the Grammys aired, when he went up to accept that speech and they played Not Like Us, the entire crowd was singing it. Beyonce's kid was singing it. Taylor Swift was singing it. He went up and received the award, and it was perfect timing. As he took the award and was about to speak, the A minor line played, and the entire crowd sung it. Very, very loud. Drake obviously didn't like this and thinks it helps his defamation case. And coincidentally, the Grammys, in their YouTube publication of Kendrick accepting the award, they removed the part where they played the Not Like Us song and everyone was singing it. This led the OVO conspiracy courthouse Karens to think that, this was a big conspiracy where the Grammys or UMG knew that this was defamation, so they took the song off of the video of Kendrick accepting the award. So Drake basically wants all communications between UMG and the Grammys to, dig into the fact of why they removed the song from the acceptance speech and any communication they had about Kendrick being nominated and then winning the award. Then he wanted to dig into the halftime show. So he said all documents relating to the selection and licensing of the recording to be performed at the Super Bowl halftime show, including but not limited to all documents, communications relating to any and all decisions proposed, contemplated, or made with respect to whether or not to omit or censor any lyrics or other content related to the recording during the Super Bowl halftime show. Basically, he wants, any documents from UMG, any communications with, the NFL, where they discussed whether or not they should censor Kendrick performing Not Like Us on the Super Bowl stage. And we know that this lawsuit initially was an attempt at Drake to try to stop UMG from licensing the Not Like Us song to be performed at the Super Bowl. 50 Cent has said this. It's been very clear. But it didn't work. Instead, Kendrick, before he performed it, said, "I want to perform their favorite song, but I know they love to sue." But anyways, we'll continue going. Drake requests more documents. He wants the documents sufficient to show the number of streams, views, downloads, purchases, and radio plays of Not Like Us or the video on all platforms, including social media platforms. So, all the numbers that the song did. Documents sufficient to show the executive compensation structure and annual incentive plans for Interscope Chief Executive Officer John Janik for the past 5 years. So basically, they want Interscope CEO's contracts as well, which is insane. Documents sufficient to show Interscope's 2024 executive incentive metrics, targets, projections, and performance used to determine annual incentive compensation for Interscope's executives and officers, including the CEO, for the past 5 years. And these are all private documents. I don't understand how he would have, the ability to collect these things, but I'll keep going. Documents sufficient to show the dates on which UMG sent litigation hold notices and the recipients of those notices relating to any of the allegations in the complaint or anticipated or actual litigation by plaintiff. All documents and communications relating to the May 7th, 2024 armed attack and the May 8th and 9th trespassing attempts on Drake's Toronto residence. So any communication UMG had when they heard the news that Drake's house got hit with a firearm, which, again, I don't see how that makes a difference, right? Yes, a record company should care about the safety of their artists, but to try to frame it like Not Like Us was the reason why your house got shot up is so incredibly ridiculous and just out of touch. When there's zero correlation to the lyrics of the song and your house getting hit with a firearm, I don't see how that would hold up in court. But he continues, we're on document 15 out of 18. He wants all documents and communications relating to the promotion of the recording on Spotify and Apple Music. He wants all documents regarding objections to or concerns regarding the content of the recording, image, and video. So basically, if they, objected to promoting or even releasing the song. Documents to show the total money spent by UMG, directly or indirectly, on the production of the recording and video. So basically how much it actually costed for UMG to record the music video and record the song. And then documents sufficient to show the total monthly money spent by UMG, directly or indirectly, on the promotion each of the recording and video. So how much they spent to promote the music video and the song itself. So, Lawbreeds and Gentlegrams, what do you guys think? Is Drake asking for too much here? Is he going to get this? Listen, if he gets access to all these Kendrick Lamar contracts, all these discussions UMG had about the Grammys, about the Super Bowl, we're going to see it as well, and we'll unpack it all. It's just a little bit of an invasion of privacy to get basically all this man's business filings shared to not only the world, but more importantly, Drake, who is a competing artist in the same field on the same record label. Now, don't forget, though, UMG basically requested to have this lawsuit dismissed. They're saying there's no grounds for defamation. Drake's claims are baseless. I did a whole review of their motion to dismiss, which essentially is a legal version of Meet the Grams, where they're absolutely drilling Drake. Best quote from that document being, "For someone who acts so unbothered, Drake is obviously very bothered by his unanimous public loss in a rap beef and is now trying to take it out on his record label. If the case doesn't get dismissed, then we'll see all these different documents come to light. I'm sure UMG will come with a bunch of tricks up their sleeve to expose the malpractices Drake has used in his own career with UMG. They've already shared a bunch of different links and sources showing that there was rumors of Drake being a PDF long before Not Like Us was ever published, and that it wasn't a rumor that Kendrick and UMG concocted together. So I'm sure if this thing does go to court, we'll get a lot more interesting back and forths between UMG and Drake. So let me know what you guys think, and I will catch you in the next one.